Have you ever seen Christians going at each other online? Mocking, calling names, questioning each other's faith just because they land on different sides of an issue. Say something is my poetic response to that. I wrote this after seeing so many reels, tweets, and posts where Christians weren't just disagreeing, but outright attacking each other. It wasn't just political opinions clashing. It was self-righteousness, cynicism, and an unwillingness to listen. And what grieved me most? Some believers were telling others that if they didn't speak up right now and take this exact stance, then their faith was questionable. That's when I paused and thought, do I really have to voice my opinion on everything, or else I'm some neglectful, fraudulent Christian? Does God expect me to plant my flag and die on this politically charged hill? Or could it be that mindful, prayerful silence, waiting for the Spirit's wisdom, is actually an option? We live in a time where speaking out is often mistaken for action, and where demonstrating that we care about injustice often looks like posting, debating, or making content. And sometimes those things matter. But if we're honest, how often do we stop and ask ourselves, am I actually living out the values I argue about online? That's not an easy question, but honesty about where we are is the only way we can recognize when we're out of alignment and return to what truly matters: loving God and loving people. Not just in what we say online, but in how we live our lives in our homes, in our communities, and in our workplaces. Because it's that daily obedience to God, that real life compassion, that actually changes the world. There's a time to keep silence and a time to speak. This poem isn't about telling Christians to be quiet. It's an invitation to examine our tone, motivation, and our mission behind what we choose to say. Not everyone who claims to follow Christ actually does, and that's a hard truth, and unfortunately, a lot of the church is to blame for making Christianity feel like a cultural identity rather than a relationship with Jesus. But it's not loving to water down truth just to make people feel comfortable. So we need to challenge ourselves. Are we striving for an appearance of holiness while neglecting to live it out? Do we care about injustice abroad but ignore the needs in our own homes, neighborhoods, and workplaces? Are we compassionate about being right more than being Christ-like? These contradictions matter. None of us will ever get this perfectly right. Trust me, if you dig through old posts and conversations, you find plenty of moments where I got it wrong. But over time, God has taught me the power of words and the danger of reckless truth-telling, and how much I can miss when I love the sound of my own voice more than I love listening. I have faithful, Jesus-loving friends that I deeply disagree with, and that's okay. The beauty of God's family is that we can seek truth together without compromising it for the sake of unity. It's a messy kind of unity, but I think God did that on purpose. He designed it that way on purpose. So whatever your feelings are about recent events, about politics, or about where fellow believers stand, let's be careful. Because if there's one thing that should humble all of us, is that we all need Jesus. And at the end of the day, say something isn't about silence. It's about wisdom. It's about asking, am I speaking in love, or am I just trying to be heard? Am I fighting for truth or just fighting? And if you're still wrestling with these ideas, I encourage you to meditate on scriptures like this from James 1. Know, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger, for the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. But be doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. There is a time to speak, and there's a time to listen. I hope this poem helps you discern the difference. say something. Plant a flag. Didn't his stance make you mad? But did you see how he clapped back? You know you ought to say something. Choose your side. Make it known. Type it out into a post. Film your truth on your iPhone so they can hear you say something. Why would I listen when I could amplify every detail that the other side missed and failed to acknowledge? I can't help but say something. My perspective's without limit, and I'm disgusted by their ignorance and righteous anger or impulsiveness. It's my time to say something. And I'm gonna go all out, swap my profile pic, scream and shout till they know what I'm about, 'cause I'm the type to say something. But wait, this chatter's never finished, and these comments got me livid. Maybe my view is tunnel vision, but they applaud me when I say something. Yet it's sobering how I notice that these comments don't produce no check, just opinions I deposited in bankrupt hearts that have no business. Mocking one another like issues come in just two colors, seeing things like Stevie Wonder with blinded hearts to one another. What if we retreat to silence, not in fear, to be reminded that our wisdom looks short-sighted to an omnipotent king, one who judges supreme in knowing the minutiae and annoying details that disarm our words like cavalry does insurgents. God's instruments were way too noisy, so loud can't hear each other speak, let alone break bread or stop to think of ways we could be serving. But what if in quiet, behind closed doors, we retreated to hear our Father's voice, to be instructed, to yield our own discourse? Or are we too busy saying something? Because in our homes, across the streets, there are people still within our reach to say without using words nor speech, active faith that really says something. Caught up in threads, so invested in world events while living ever so comfortably disconnected from one another. There are times when zeal should be quieted. Or do you need to be reminded? Even the word says there's a time when we should speak and we should stay silent.